There are gay men playing professional sports right now. That's not speculation, it's statistics. But almost none of them are out, which means being honest about who you are is still seen as a career risk.
And the issue isn't masculinity. It's what happens when masculinity leaves no room for honesty, especially in spaces built on toughness, competition, and dominance.
And that's why Heated Rivalry has taken off the way it has, because it's showing something men in elite sports really don't get to explore out loud.
This is Taboo Talk, Not Safe for Brunch. I'm Coralie from Vancouver, and I love digging deep and asking the questions no one will.
I'm Amber from Ontario. I'm blunt, cut through the fluff, and get straight to the point.
And I'm Vicky from Manitoba. I'm all about real connection because intimacy starts with trust. Let's get into it.
So, all three of us have watched Heated Rivalry.
Yeah, we did.
Over and over.
More than one.
You guys,
yeah.
I've only watched it once, but you guys told me to go and watch it, and I started to watch it, and then I'm like, what did they get me to watch? I feel like I'm watching porn.
I know, and then you finished it before I even finished it.
Yeah, I couldn't stop.
That's great.
I
was on my third round when you guys were just starting, so whatever.
I was waiting because I have gay kids and I wanted to watch it with them.
Fair. I get it.
But what stood out immediately is that it's not just like a romance set in sports. It's about pressure. It's about identity. And it's what happens when being like honest about your life and about who you are can cost you everything you've worked so hard for. And I freaking love this show. I love this show.
I'm so glad you did. I'm glad we all watched it.
Yeah. I got my
I tried
husband
to get my husband to watch it, and he just wouldn't.
Yeah. I got Chad too. And he wasn't like super excited about watching it, but we just had a conversation. I was like, why? What's holding you back from watching it? And he's like, I don't know. I've just never seen it. I'm like, well, then let's explore it because, we have gay kids. We have straight kids too. But like, hey, let's watch it. He loved it. He thought it was such a good show. So if you're a straight guy, you can watch this. It doesn't make you gay. He didn't get one boner. I asked him.
I asked him
multiple times. Did you have a boner?
Well, I can't say the same for myself.
Well, I couldn't with Shane and Ilya. Like, yes, very hot, but they're my kids' age. But when it was Scott and Kip, yes. Yes.
Scott and Kip.
Yes. But these guys they're elite athletes first, right? Before they're, gay men. They're competitive, they're aggressive, they're driven. And as we see throughout the show, that just because they're gay, it doesn't mean they're any less of those things. They're not less aggressive. They're not less driven. They're not less competitive. So your preference, your sexuality doesn't determine any of that. That's what society is putting on us, right?
Right. Yeah. There's such an air of what some demographics should look like. And I think that's a dangerous place to live.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was great about this show too is there was nothing in that show that like, you just have these kind of preconceived notions on what the conflict is or what the characters are going to be like. And it didn't have any of that. Being gay wasn't the conflict. The conflict was the visibility,
Yes. Somebody finding out.
Right.
100%.
Trying to keep a part of you hidden. And my husband and I were talking about it. And I was like, just imagine as we were watching the episodes, we'd pause and chat here and there. And I was like, just imagine, what if being straight was the hidden thing? What if we had to hide this about who? I just can't imagine what that's like. So I love that was the conflict about talking about it, bringing it out into their career, their family, all that stuff. Who knows? Who can't know? And what happens if the wrong person finds out? Which I don't want to give any spoilers, but I didn't feel like that happened.
Right. And I think what I really connected to was with the Scott and Kip situation was the fact that they were very clearly in a relationship immediately, in a very exclusive, experiential relationship in that moment. And that idea behind having to be so cautious of who sees you, what you're doing in public, et cetera, because behind closed doors, there wasn't just we're exploring this together. They were in it.
Right.
100% in it. Like,
yeah. There was the L word thrown around, and they were still not really sharing with others.
Yeah.
Wild.
I know. And what I loved about the Scott and Kip thing too is that was an element that you often see in typical movies or typical shows. A male and a female, love at first sight, fall in love, can't get their hands off each other. I think that's the first time I've seen that in a gay relationship. I think in lesbian ones it's been more common, but it was the first time I'd seen it in something that I watched, and I just loved that normalcy of it. You know, here you have one couple who it just kind of, you know, doing it, for lack of a better word, like a win opportunity before the love happens. And then you have this other couple that just, they knew, you know, they met over that blueberry banana smoothie and
right.
Yeah.
These things happen, those organic sort of connections, which I think we'll talk about it, but I think it's also why women have flocked to this because of that organic feeling of the relationship.
Right.
So.
And also too, no one really seemed ashamed of being gay. Like there was, you know, kind of that one spot where Shane just sort of realized he's gay, where he's like, I think I'm gay. We're like, yes, you are.
We would concur.
It wasn't like a shameful thing. It was a strategy. It was a strategy to get to where you want in life. And it was a way of protecting themselves, because these aren't just emotional stakes. They're professional stakes. They have contracts. They have, I mean, we've seen there the Rolex, all the little, you know, deals they had with the cars and the watches and the whatever. They have their reputation, especially the two main characters. They hated each other. They have that to maintain, like they hated each other.
Yeah. And that was the feeling until even the parents found out, right? It was like, you don't like each other.
Right. But you hate him.
Yeah.
They definitely portrayed that really well.
They did.
Outside of, you know, their relationship, right? But even in there, I feel like at the beginning in their relationship, it was very passionate, but also a little aggressive in a way.
Yes.
So you were like, do they even like each other, or is this just sex?
Yeah. Totally.
I love the way that whoever created this short series was amazing. Are they going to come out with more?
They are.
I need more.
They've already greenlit season 2 and 3, I've heard. So it's a book series. I'm going to buy the book because I can't wait for season 2. I need to read the book.
I need to read the book.
And the series. And it's a woman who wrote it, but Jacob Tierney is the guy that took the book and made it the screenplay. And he's a gay man. And I've never heard of this guy before, but he really, you know, put his heart and soul into this, and you will be able to tell if you haven't watched it yet when you watch it.
Jacob is on the map now.
Yes.
So I want to go back and talk a little bit more about that strategy idea. Even right down to the very end, it was a conversation about, well, we're going to do this thing and we're going to have this charity. And then we're going to both agree that, you know, we're really passionate about this. And then we're going to be able to spend this time together. And I was like, to have to be so convoluted in all of the designing of that was, to me, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Totally.
I can see. And I mean, you could see that in a hetero situation, you know, maybe it's two people who work together that don't want people to know, or they're kind of creating scenarios that allow them to be together. But this was very, very specific, in my opinion.
Another thing I liked about that is that they're generally asking, like, what is this going to cost me in a relationship or in my career? But what I also loved about it is all the supporting characters were so believable as characters. Like usually if you have a film that centers around a gay relationship, the women are just, they're tropes. Oh, I'm a girl and this is my gay best friend guy. Or, you know, there's all these tropes about the women that are there, but they were all just real friends. How you would act, like I have gay friends, how those conversations would have happened, you know, how they would have happened way back then. Now it's not this trope. And Kip's dad, like,
oh, can we talk about Kip's dad? What a saint. Oh,
yeah. It's just, it was also
what a
real.
lovely man.
Yeah. Like,
I wonder if he's single. I'm just kidding. I'm like, what a lovely gentleman.
Right? I know. And I think that's one of the reasons that not only are we all in love with it, but the men are loving it because the characters are real. You know, Rose and Svetlana and I can't remember the girl that's Kip's friend. They were awesome women in it. Nothing in that show at all asked anyone to reject masculinity. I didn't see one guy wearing pink, which I'm not opposed. I love pink. I love a man in pink. But those are the kind of stereotypes you typically see in stuff like this, right? They didn't have to question their masculinity in it at all. So it was great. It was great. I loved it. My husband loved it. We all loved it. I'm probably going to go for the third watch.
Atta girl. Yeah, I think you make a really good point about the stereotypes and what we think we'll see. And it really was flipped. There was just such a focus on all of these young men. And then everyone was just sort of there.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that they didn't fall away from that. They
Mhm.
really honed in on that. And they put such a spotlight on the individual relationships as a whole. But I don't know. There was just something, I don't know what it was like. It was like a drug to me.
Yes.
Once I started watching, whatever they put in that coffee, I'm telling you, I was in it. It wasn't even I'm going to stop watching now.
Mhm.
Like, no. Once I started, like Amber said, once I started, I was like, absolutely. There are no bedtimes in this home.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty much that. And then I'm like, is this too loud? I'm turning it down a little bit. Like, whew, this is hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's going to hear me watching this? Wait a minute. Can we just have a quick conversation, ladies, about on social media? I have been watching everything that crosses my feed. And there are a lot of straight men who are watching and reporting that they are watching and having conversations with their buddies about it. But my concern and my thought is that there's got to be a ton of men who are watching this secretly by themselves, not saying anything, just like Amber said. Is this too loud? Is my husband going to hear? My mom going to, like, what? Who's going to hear me?
I didn't realize what I was watching, and I was like, what did freaking get me
Right.
to watch? Oh my God. And then I got into the story and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I'm going to tell my mom, like, have you watched it yet? Like,
Have you- Totally. So I just think that there's got to be men who are watching who aren't saying anything. And
Mhm.
if I can say one thing, is that the second you tell, especially a woman in your life, that you're watching this, it is going to change their perception of you in a good way. I just think that there's got to be men who are watching it, but are also feeling that sense of shame and that heaviness and that veil, just like we're talking about these gentlemen did inside their relationships during this show.
Mm-hmm. Totally. We had similar experience where Chad and I were watching it. Our neighbor came over to ask Chad to help him with an errand. We paused the show. Of course, everyone's naked and doing it at the part we pause it. My husband's a little nervous about the neighbor seeing because he didn't tell the neighbor what we were doing. Anyways, long story short, he went over there and yeah, he told them we were watching it. And they were actually, these are old dudes, you guys. So like,
I love it.
And they were cool with it. Like they didn't make fun of my husband, or we have these stereotypes in our head about what older generations might say. And that didn't happen. And
yeah.
And
I mean, they were having him over to repair something too, weren't they? So they did need him.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
But good for him for being open. Good for him for saying, hey, Alec, Cora and I were just watching this show and I don't know if you've heard about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's great.
Yeah.
I think those are major steps for men who maybe have not necessarily engaged in this kind of content. And I love that.
Yeah. And also too, what I loved about the show is that typically when you watch like a rom-com type thing, the men are only really emotionally honest in like a private conversation with the woman in their life, but they don't want their friend, you know what I mean? No one can know that I'm really a sweet guy. Everyone has to think I'm an asshole. And there was none of that in this. Yes, Ilya was an asshole sometimes, but in a lovable way.
Yeah, but he owned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was part of his brand, right? So you had to lean into that. But yeah, they had all this emotional honesty in it. And that in turn is giving the men in the real world in 3D land permission to be emotionally honest. Honestly, I can't imagine my husband like 5 years ago being like, hey guys, guess what I watched? And it was great. Because we're all learning and growing. He's learning and growing. I'm learning and growing. We're all learning and growing.
Yeah. And I think that this Canadian producer, writer, they put it in front of us
Mhm.
and they made it something that we wanted to consume. And that wasn't an accident. That was growth.
Yes. And can I touch on that too, really quick? I don't know if you guys have heard this, but our Canadian tax dollars helped pay for that because we have the Canadian Broadcasting Company or whatever, and they don't have that shit in the States. They don't put their tax dollars towards stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I love my tax dollars going towards this. First of all, look at how much money it's made. It's now down in the States on HBO. Everyone's making money from it. It started with our economy. It just goes to show that, you know, you see governments taking away money from this, that, and the other thing. The arts are so important. The arts are so important for cultural growth and understanding.
Yeah, Canada has always embraced the arts. I think that we're really lucky for that. And I think it does put some really great stuff in front of us. And of course, we know that we've seen some really great Canadian stuff come out of Jacob in general.
The reason this story feels so real is because when you actually look at what's happening in professional sports, the numbers are telling the same stories.
Yeah, let's ground this in reality. So because this isn't just a fictional problem, right? Like, yes, Heated Rivalry, fictional story. However, the stats don't lie, you guys.
Numbers. I love the numbers, Amber. Thanks for doing it.
I love the numbers too. So conservative estimates show that 2 to 6% of men identify as gay or bisexual.
Okay, well, in general?
In general. Okay?
Okay.
Across the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and MLS, there are currently 0 openly gay active male players, according to my research at this time. Research shows 80% of gay male athletes hide their sexuality in sports environments. That level of invisibility only exists if people are actively staying closeted.
What's interesting about these is that it says conservative estimates are 2 to 6%, because we all know that's very conservative.
You know what? And I think that because of whom we are as a group, that feels really low to me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But it's because of who we are as a group. We seek out all people, right? We are always immersed in all of the demographics. So I think that talking about the queer community and even talking about 2 to 6% of men identify as gay or bisexual, to me, I just feel like, okay, but fair, conservatively. Got it. And we all know I'm super conservative.
For those of you not watching, the eye roll was amazing.
I don't think you're going to find a conservative bone in this group. So,
I mean, I get it sometimes, but not by a stretch.
Not when it comes to human rights.
No. And to be clear, when I was doing this, because I was the one that kind of put this episode together, when I was putting this together, I was looking for male-dominated sports. So, like, I do understand that there are openly gay sports players that maybe not in a male-dominated pro sports league.
Yeah, you were looking top tier specifically.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
who are making the big bucks.
Yeah, I think that's important to know. And again, that's exactly why that whole thought process of how does this affect my career, my income, my life, my family, my this, my that, like they're looking at the whole big picture. And sorry, just jumping back to the episode where Scott does his thing, episode 5 at the very end, you definitely want to watch it. To me, he waited until he hit that big top tier moment and then felt the safety of that. And I was like, that is incredibly scary, sad, and interesting because Kip was committed enough to the process to wait that out. It was important enough for him that he was okay staying in the shadow until it was, and until they were in their apartment together. There was no shadows there. Loved it.
A thought I have about this with the fact that there's no openly gay active male players in sports that we know of. If we're wrong, please send us a message. But since they're trying to hide their sexuality in this sport environment, like I'm just thinking about locker rooms, okay? Men's locker rooms. you know, like when we're in high school, we're young and the word gay is thrown around as an insult, as a slur. And they're talking about locker rooms, we're like, oh yeah, you wouldn't stop looking at my dick. You know what I mean? Just how guys talk back then when they're insecure. But then I think about locker rooms in general, and just because I've been around men long enough to know, they are obsessed with each other's dicks, whether they're straight or not. Like,
So true.
100%.
like they are fucking obsessed with each other's dicks more than we are.
Well, no,
Okay,
just
maybe not you, Vicky.
whoa.
Like, it's just so funny that, you know, that's the insult they go to, but
Yeah.
they're looking because they're comparing their dick to that dick. They want to
Yep.
Yeah.
They want to have the best dick. The best dick
Yeah,
is an
everything's a
ally.
competition.
Absolutely.
Everything's a competition. You know, and I think that I'm learning because of the sampling of people that I've been spending time with.
Tell us more, Vicky. Tell us more.
I just think that men have so many insecurities, you guys. And I think that what I found really bold was when Ilya and Shane were in that shower together and he kind of just went with it. And I was like, oh, you had to be sure before you decided to do that in that scene. Like you had to be sure. I don't know if his radar was just on high, but I just think what I'm noting in my world is just that men experience as many insecurities as we do. They are just all about the bravado around it. And like you said, they're all looking because they have to win the game
Right.
of whatever they're playing.
Competition.
Like anyway.
I would almost venture to say that men are more insecure in general than women because we have more permission to talk about our insecurities. We are more expected to be emotional and work through this, whereas they still a lot of times have to hide it. And I just want to say that is the patriarchy, and feminism is about fighting that so men can be emotionally stable,
Right.
secure as well. It's not about
Yes.
women.
Well, okay, let's just build on that.
Yeah.
So also in this show, you watched these guys who hated one another on the ice, and they were so soft when they were together. They were so thoughtful. There was conversation. I mean, sometimes there wasn't, but I'm just, you know what I mean? But there were these glimmers of that softness and that insecurity and that uncertainty. And I don't know, I feel like this show applies to everybody just because the main characters were gay, just because they were having a relationship, just because they were having intercourse does not make this a show that is not for everyone to watch. 18 plus.
I like that. 18.
There was two things I didn't see in any of those episodes. One was a dick,
Right.
and the other was a bottle of lube.
Yeah, that was the disappointing part.
That was so disappointing.
That was the only
I would have
disappointment
loved
I
some
had.
lube representation.
Yes.
Lube representation would have been good.
There was condoms,
Yeah, I agree.
500 of them.
Yeah, like you did
Yes,
not. You don't even have to show the brand. Just know that they're
Yeah.
using lube.
Like any
You know.
Yeah.
bit. Like, come on.
You're
Talk
right.
about it.
There we go. That was the only fail
Yeah.
that we found. Other than that, it was stellar.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
season 2, get some lube.
I also didn't like when they were talking and they were like, who's your favorite team to play for? And Shane said, oh, I like Ottawa because it's my hometown, and I like Winnipeg, and I like whatever. He didn't say. That pissed me off, Shane. Hollander.
Listen,
Anyhow.
just saying, Winnipeg Jets again and again.
Vancouver Canucks. Just one day.
So what actually happens when athletes do decide to stop hiding while they're still playing? That's where things get complicated, and we're going to jump into that.
This is a part of the conversation where things stop being hypothetical, because when athletes come out while they're still playing, we can see exactly how the system responds to that.
Yeah.
So some of the stats that were pulled, one, of course, was Josh Cavallo. In 2021, he came out publicly while actively playing professional soccer, which almost never happens. So he was in it in the middle of his career. And I absolutely went straight to social media to watch his coming out video just to make sure that I saw it. It makes me emotional because I feel like how brave to
Mhm.
say the things that could absolutely destroy you, but knowing that not saying them would destroy you more.
Right.
And I thought that was incredibly powerful. And if we want to jump back to the show, Kip could have walked away and said, yeah, I'm nobody's secret.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And that could have changed Scott's life forever.
Mhm.
We don't know. Right.
Right.
Anyway, when talking about Josh specifically in soccer, he received a wave of public support, which was amazing. He's also spoken openly about some death threats and online abuse that he's received, which of course we know exists.
Hmm.
He also said that homophobia has affected his standing within his club. You're widely affected. And his playing time dropped after coming out, and he eventually moved to a lower tier league, which is, I believe, where he is now. I just want to go back to the social media piece and the online threats, etc. I just went to TikTok and I was shocked at how many I went through the comments. You know, there was lots of support, and then there was like kick him out of the game and get rid of him and some really other nasty things, which I'm not going to repeat, but you can certainly go there and look at it your damn self. But that was a true testament to, wow. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes we get rude comments on here, ladies.
They pay the bills. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
But, you know, when you're talking about death threats and feeling like you can't leave your home, and that is an extreme level. And it's so painful. And it was, I think, the thing that really connected with me most when I watched his coming out video. I thought to myself, no one should have to feel this way. That just,
Mhm.
so he's been really honest about it, and coming out did help him mentally, which we know of course will, but the system around him didn't just suddenly become safer. I mean, it's still a scary place, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, his career took a hit, which should have never fucking happened.
Right.
No, why are you playing a lower tier when your skill says you shouldn't be?
Right.
Yeah.
Because of who you love?
Mhm.
Stop it. Fight me. I swear to God.
You know what I love is I love on TikTok these badass bitches who are finding these people leaving horrible comments and finding them in real life. Like, 'cause sometimes I'm reading these comments and I'm like, did you say that with your government name? Like, say that with your government name. Okay, you're dumb.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah,
someone's like,
no alias.
no picture, some sort of number for their name, people can still find them. And it is glorious. I love it. And I'm not saying I haven't left a rude comment. I have on people. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Say if they're against women's rights. You know, I just can't believe what people say online.
Yes.
And like, if you're going to say it, for sure, at least say it with your government name. But if you're not going to say it with your government name, then it doesn't, you can't stand by it. You can't stand by it.
Now let's compare that to Carl Nassib. So he was the first openly gay active player in NFL history. Okay. That is a manly sport. Not that soccer wasn't, but football, come on, right? This is a big deal. So he did come out in 2021 as well through a simple Instagram video, which I also watched. There was no press tour, no apology, no rebrand. This is who I am. Love that.
Mhm.
Teammates in the league were largely supportive in his situation, and he continued playing at the same level. And he did retire in 2023 on his own terms. Hold your head up high. Love that.
First of all, I'm not a football girl. I don't like football. I mean, I watch it occasionally if the Seahawks are playing, but or in the finals, but I don't understand why football is the manliest sport because they play the least amount of games. They play like 20 games a year. Hockey, 100. Basketball, 100. Baseball, 100. Football, 20. Okay. First point. Second point is, even though they play the least amount of games, I think they are the manliest men because that is the, like, what I think of football players, I think of Colin Kaepernick kneeling against it was when Trump was first in office. And it was like a Black Lives Matter movement. You know, the NFL, I find they've always been very, or not always, but they seem to be more willing to take a stand. So it doesn't surprise me that they seem to be more
Right.
accepting than in soccer, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I find it interesting that NFL seems to be a pretty open arms situation. So, but what I love about this situation is just his career didn't explode. Nothing fell apart.
Mhm.
Everything just sort of continued to do its thing, and he was able to do what he loved,
Yeah.
right? And to be who he loves and to be with who he loves,
Mhm.
which is great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Totally.
My research did show, and I know we couldn't add everything in here or we'd be here forever, but there were a lot more pro athletes, male, who came out after their career, and sometimes a decade after.
Right.
That didn't just happen.
Mhm.
No,
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
designed.
So just to think that they had to live in quiet and not be themselves for so long
Mhm.
Mhm.
really is incredibly unfortunate.
Mhm. It makes me so happy on the internet now to see. I've seen so many videos where they'll show a picture of them now, like an out gay man. It says something like, I didn't need this show. And then it'll show a flashback of them as the quarterback or the whatever, the big high school or college football player. Like, but this person needed that show. And then you see other kids that age, like it literally puts a lump in my throat. And I'm going to cry. So
I do believe you're right, though. I do think that I do think that Heated Rivalry will evoke change.
Mhm.
I
They're
hope so. I hope you're
not
right.
for everyone. Not for everyone. I mean, we're never going to nail them all down, but I do think that it is going to create a much broader view
Mhm.
with a much broader demographic.
Mhm.
Those who want to hate are going to hate. We can't stop that.
Mhm.
Right.
But those who are kind of like, oh, I never thought of it that way, or someone who might sit down and watch it with a partner go, oh, I do see this perspective. The learners and the growers, show yourself. We
Mhm.
love you.
Absolutely.
So when you put these two stories side by side, it gets really clear that it's not about talent or toughness. It's about risk, about visibility, about what happens when you're the only one out there. And again, that's the part that still scares people, is the
Yeah.
what will happen? What will my life look like?
Mhm.
It's not okay.
Well, and if you think too, can I just add on to that? When you think about what happens when you're the only one out there, like, frick, I went to a company Christmas party 2 weeks ago with my husband. And I was like, don't leave me by myself. Like,
Right.
he's worked there since the 80s.
Right. These are not my people. Don't just,
Yeah.
just
So,
leave me in the lurch.
like, I don't want to be left alone. And I'm, so yeah. Anyways, don't leave someone out there.
Don't leave them out. And honestly, that's why these stories like Heated Rivalry matter, because fiction sometimes, it's the only place where men get to imagine what safety could look like for real.
Mm-hmm. Heated Rivalry shows us what authenticity could look like in sports.
The stats explain why so many men are still hiding.
And the real stories prove that this isn't about ability. It's about whether the system is ready.
Thanks for filling up a seat at the Taboo Talk Not Safe for Brunch table. If today's episode made you laugh, think, or squirm a little, do us a solid, follow, rate, and leave a review. It's the podcast version of a good tip.
Want more unfiltered conversations? Hit the link in the show notes and sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's the stuff that didn't make it on the air.
Until next time, keep it bold, keep it curious, and definitely keep it not safe for brunch.